Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 8th agenda meeting. South Plainfield Mayor and Council. This meeting has been advertised according to the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting being provided to the borough's two official newspapers and also published on the borough's website. Ms. Antonides, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilman Benjavanga. Councilwoman Mott.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
Councilman Willock.
Here.
And Council President Faustini.
Here.
Thank you. Can you take us through a review of tonight's agenda, please?
Yes, this evening, Mr. Mayor, there are no matters for closed session. We have the approval of council minutes for August 10th. We have a proclamation pertaining to Hispanic Heritage Month. We have one ordinance on for a second reading by title and one ordinance on for a first reading by title. We have 13 resolutions this evening, plus we do have the addition of one more, which is numbered as 20-249, titled Authorizing the Services of E&L Pump Company for Emergency Repairs to Fix the Well at the Community Pool in an amount not to exceed $6,516. Then we have three matters of correspondence, payment of bills totaling $2,846,299.99, council reports, and then we conclude with public comments. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to add Resolution 249 to tonight's agenda?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Council President Faustini, seconded by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Council comments on agenda items?
None.
None for me,
None.
Mayor.
Seeing none, there are no executive sessions for tonight. At this point, we'll open it up for public comments on agenda items only. Again, at this point, what I would just ask the public to do is you can unmute yourself and state your name. Once you are recognized, proceed with your address and then proceed with your question. If you are on the audio-only line, I believe to unmute your line, you're going to do *6. If you are on the video WebEx or logged into the WebEx application, you should be able to unmute yourself with the red microphone. Okay, at this point, I'll open up for public comments. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. At this moment, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's agenda meeting.
So
moved.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Council President Faustini. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing no reason to delay, we'll go right to the public meeting. Again, this meeting has been advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, with adequate notice of this meeting also being provided to the borough's two official newspapers and published on the borough's website. Ms. Antonides, will you call the roll once more?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Here.
Councilwoman Mott.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
Councilman Bullock.
Here.
Council President Faustini.
Here.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Council President Faustini. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, please give us strength and guidance as we begin our meeting tonight. Please watch over our town, our employees, our protectors, and our leaders, and keep us safe and from harm. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, at this point, once again, we'll open it up for public comments on agenda items only. Again, you can unmute yourself by either *6 if you're on the audio only or using the red microphone. State your name. As soon as you are recognized, proceed with your address and then your question. At this point, we'll open it up again, once again, for public comments on agenda items only. Seeing none, close the public portion. At this point, can I get a motion for the approval for the council minutes of August 10th, agenda and public?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Wolak. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Councilman Bullock,
Yes.
and Council President Faustini.
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. We have one proclamation on for tonight, and I know we have Jaylene who will accept that. Jaylene, I will open it up to you after we read the proclamation. Again, Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas Americans observe Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of those whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And whereas Hispanics have enhanced and shaped our national character with century-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs of their communities. And whereas Hispanics have a profound and positive influence on our country through their strong commitment to family, faith, hard work, and service. And whereas the cultural, educational, and political influences of Hispanics in the borough of South Plainfield can be seen and appreciated in all aspects of life, as Hispanics continue to be crucial to the culture, economic, and political growth of our community. Now, therefore, I, Matthew Pianesh, Mayor of the Borough of South Plainfield, do hereby proclaim September 2020 as Hispanic Heritage Month and encourage all residents to join in recognizing the contributions made by people of Hispanic ancestry who have had such a profound influence on our lives and the world. Jaylene, we'll open it up to you. I've unmuted your line, so you are free if you would like to make any comments addressing Hispanic Heritage Month. Jaylene? Oh, she's muted again. Jaylene, did you have any comments? Do you want to comment on the...
Hi, on behalf of the library, we want to say thank you. And even though we couldn't celebrate this year, we hope to plan and celebrate next year.
Thank you, Jaylene.
I just wanted to add a little something. The library, in addition to Hispanic Heritage, also runs a multitude of cultural events throughout the year. But this particular event, the library did receive a grant in recognition for the amazing job that they did on the Hispanic Heritage celebration last year. It wasn't just the library. They worked with other organizations. They had some professionals come in. We had the school come in. Some children from, I believe, Grant School and the high school came in and participated. The Cultural Arts Commission also participated as well, along with the library. But this event was recognized by the state library, and the South Plainfield Library was one of 3 libraries to receive an award grant for their amazing event. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and thank everybody who worked on the event for all their hard work.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we'll move on to ordinances for final adoption. Ordinance 2180.
An ordinance amending chapter 146 of the Code of the Borough of South Plainfield titled Animals.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for final adoption on ordinance 2180?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Wallach. As this is for final approval, we'll open it up for public comments regarding the adoption of ordinance 2180. Again, at this point, if you have a comment regarding the ordinance, please unmute yourself. State your name once you are recognized. Proceed with your address and your question. Again, if you're on the phone-only line, *6 will unmute your line. If you're on the WebEx, use the red microphone to unmute your line. Again, at this point, we'll open it up for public comments regarding ordinance 2180. Seeing none, close the public portion. Council comments?
None.
Thank you. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Faustini?
Yes.
Thank you. For introduction, ordinance 2181.
Bond ordinance providing for various improvements to Cotton Street Park, Putnam Park, and Shady Side Park in and by the Borough of South Plainfield, County of Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $300,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $285,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for introduction on ordinance 2181?
Mo- Second.
Motion by Councilman Benjavanga, seconded by Councilwoman Mott. I'll remind the public the final adoption for this ordinance 2181 will be set for September 21st at approximately 7 p.m. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
And Council President Faustini?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for resolutions 20-236 to 20-249?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Wolak, seconded by Councilwoman Mott. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
Council President Faustini?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. We have 3 items of correspondence for tonight. The Environmental Monthly Report for June and July, the Recycling Monthly Report for July, and the Board of Health Monthly Report for August. Can I get a motion to approve the correspondence?
So move. Second.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
And Council President Faustini?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on payment of the bills for $2,846,299.99?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilwoman Mott. Ms. Antonides, can you call the roll?
Councilman Benjavanga?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mott?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Bullock?
Yes.
And Council President Faustini?
Yes.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, anything for us tonight?
Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, this is Glenn. So I just wanted to mention a couple things real quick. For starters, we did roll over notes back on August 20th. We ended up having 4 bidders for the notes, and the winning bid actually went to TD Securities at a rate of 0.448%, so less than 0.5%. And this was just on notes that were issued a year ago. There was nothing new added to them. I also just wanted to mention that the borough itself for the year, we're looking at having a decline in our outstanding debt. Obviously, I know there was an ordinance, bond ordinance on for tonight, but the current fund is going to be paying down more in debt this year than what's been issued. Additionally, I just wanted to mention that I know obviously the pool has been a big topic, and as of this morning, I think we've had just under 3,900 visitors to the community pool since it opened. As everyone's aware, the pool is going to be open until the 27th of September, weather permitting. There's been a change in some of the hours. Some of that has to do with staffing issues, schooling issues for some of the attendance. And one of the questions that's been raised has been, those 2 days have been set aside for seniors. And we were trying to look at how to handle, obviously with COVID-19, we during the heat of the summer, we were able to have hours for the seniors to be there where if they had concerns about COVID-19, the facility would be, limited to them. Wouldn't have, people of all ages and mobs of people around. So, weekends it's open to everybody, but there were 2 days during the week that we're looking to be able to still provide a time for senior Zumba and things of that nature. So, that's the way that's why it was done for those people that have some questions. The other 5 days out of the week, it's open to everybody. And with that, Mayor, progress, unless somebody has any questions.
No, thank you, sir. Mr. Rizzo.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Nothing, Mayor. Progress.
Thank you. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for hiring James Moore tonight. We think he's going to be a very good hire and an asset to the department for a long time. And then going along with the road projects, we finished off St. Nicholas. That was completed, and tonight we just awarded the next project, which is also a DOT project, corporate and Cragwood. We're looking to have a pre-construction meeting within the next week or so and get that job going. With that progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Antonides, anything for us tonight?
Yes, actually, Mr. Mayor, I just want to give an election update. As many of you have heard by now, the November 3rd election will be a vote-by-mail paper ballot election only. There will be 4 options for submitting your vote-by-mail ballot. One will be mail it to the county clerk directly, or place it in the election ballot drop box that will be located at the back entrance to Borough Hall in the coming days. It is presently on order. I do not have an exact date of when it will be installed, but it is forthcoming. Or 3, you can drop it off at your usual polling location on election day. Or 4, you can hand deliver it to the county clerk's office in person in New Brunswick. All usual polling locations will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on election day for paper ballot voting only. I understand this method doesn't really please everyone out there. However, I just want to point out it is a directive from the governor's office. It has not been done on the local level. I did have a few phone calls last week inquiring about that. So I do want to clarify, it is not on the local level. It is from the governor's office. And I will have more election information that will be posted in the coming days. I'll do the best I can to post it on our website, any social media outlets, and also in our local papers as well. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Amy. And when we say paper ballot, that is a provisional ballot only, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
I have a question. How will the box be secured and monitored in the back?
It is secure. There is a camera located at the back entrance of Borough Hall, and that's where it will be allocated. The county will pick up, for security purposes, I cannot divulge the dates and times when the pickups will occur, but there will be pickups during the weeks to come that the ballot box is there. And the county will monitor just how many ballots are in each box that they remove. And when they bring them back to the county, they will do another count again and make sure that count matches the exact count that was removed from our box. So there are checks and balances in place.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I have one question. Did they update the state statute that requires now you're only allowed to have 3 as a messenger? A messenger is only allowed to carry 3 ballots, a maximum of 3 ballots. So how did they change that part of the law that is it increases the number because if individuals are coming to pick up ballots at the drop box, that's more than 3, and so that would be in violation of the messenger law.
Right, I have also heard about that, but the county has not provided any directives to me in that regard, for this particular dynamic we're experiencing.
But I would imagine those are going to be Board of Election employees, right?
They are, in fact, Board of Election, staff members that
Yeah.
will be picking
Yeah,
up.
and I would imagine I don't know if legally the Board of Election staff member can be a courier, but they probably shouldn't be. So I don't know, but,
Not supposed to be, but.
yeah, it's good. I think,
Sorry, guys.
yeah.
This is, information hot off the press as of, last week.
No problem. Excellent. Anything else, Ms. Antonides?
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And we can expect the results by what time on Tuesday night?
I wish I could provide.
I didn't say which
Unfortunately,
Tuesday.
I do not have them, but I am told
Well, it's been a heck of a year. So, thank you.
Has indeed.
Councilman
A
Benjavanga.
little grayer at the end of this year, you'll understand why.
There you go.
All of us, I think.
Councilman Benjavanga.
Oh, you're asking me if I have comments?
Yes. Your report.
Oh, okay.
Counsel-
Out of order a little bit, but that's good. I want to congratulate James Moore on becoming part of South Plainfield full-time. I want to thank DPW and everybody over the past few weeks, especially, with the pool and the hurricane, and everybody came together from Glen to get a lot of stuff done, so put that there. Progress.
Thank you, Councilman. Well said. Councilman Woloch.
Progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Mott.
I echo Rob's comments and progress, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman White.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, wanted to, in case people do not know, the governor did allow for some indoor dining, so we're grateful for that, and I'm happy and excited for the restaurants here in town. The kids and I, with this new dynamic for Labor Day, actually ended up going to Park Ave Diner, and we ate inside, and they did a wonderful job with it, so when you have the opportunity, definitely stop by. This coming Saturday, we'll be having the ribbon cutting, for the Vitamin Shop located over at Hadley Road. This will be only our second one for the year based on what's been going on with COVID, but we're looking forward to celebrating with several other new businesses that have made their way and been strong enough to open up during this these challenging times. So we look forward to having a few more in the future. And with that, progress, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Smith.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. We have a few things from the Environmental Commission. I had spoken with Bob Longo and Dr. Alice Temple. We seem to have and haven't rectified the bamboo issue that we have in town. I spoke to Mr. Rizzo earlier today, as I spoke with all of you, to tell you that tonight we need to start thinking about how we're going to handle this. And one of the suggestions I had is to have a permit where people have to apply for a permit so that it's inspected. They have to have it planted properly to go from there. And those that have it planted before have a registry so that they can come to the town and state that they do have it. So then an ordinance can be looked at for people that have to maintain it properly, and we can follow through on that. I would welcome all the comments from the mayor and council, and also from our borough attorney, to see that what we can do. I mean, this seems to be a growing concern and an issue. There's two types of bamboo. One is invasive, one is not. I don't know which one is which, to be honest with you. I don't think banning it is an option. I think that's a violation of our rights as human beings to plant in our own property. But when it is invasive and could cause harm to other people on their property when it grows through, and people might step on them, they grow in with a spear-like point, it could be hazardous. So we should look into a permit process, in my opinion, to get something started.
So I don't disagree with that. I know, talking to Dr. Temple, one of the issues or problems that she had mentioned is that even if you do it correctly, and you mentioned Bob Longo as well, who has planted it and has done it correctly and gone probably beyond the recommendations. Even that there's no guarantee, and because the invasive species can pretty much go through anything, I think that's a start, but it doesn't address the issue, which is what neighbors are having, where their neighbor has bamboo. It is invasive, and it is affecting their yard, their lawn, and their quality of life. So I think, Paul, and this is where you come in, right? I think what we need is something that's going to give code enforcement, if that doesn't exist already today by basic property maintenance code, the ability to go there, and just as if somebody's not cutting their lawn, or they have a pool that hasn't been maintained and there's mosquitoes in there, we need some kind of mechanism where code enforcement can go in and prompt that homeowner to actually take care of that. Now, granted, this is a little bit more complicated because it's not just an incident that's on your property and resident only on your property. It's something that's gone through your other property. So how do we address, number one, rectifying the overgrowth, number two, then removing it from wherever it's grown through? I think that doesn't have to be solved today. That's something I think your committee should look into, but I think that's what you're gonna need. So it's great that we have a permit and we know who's got it, but we've gotta have a mechanism, unfortunately, to be able to rectify where a resident has a problem, that they can go to the borough and actually get some relief without having to seek out a private attorney and file some kind of civil matter, which is probably what you were going to tell us, right, Mr. Rizzo?
Well, we've had that discussion, that, you do have the private right of action, but I think that's always a last resort
Right.
for citizens. I do think you have the power to regulate it, whether it's the permit process, which probably is a good idea. I mean, obviously, because it can be detrimental and harmful to your neighbors, the public at large, we'd have the ability to regulate it. I think, and again, these are just broad strokes, just talking about it, perhaps the permitting process has been discussed, and obviously there'd have to be some standards in terms of if you're going to put it in, but then going beyond that, for both, I'll call it the new bamboo, if they're gonna be putting it under the permit, and perhaps existing bamboo, because that's another problem. Again, putting in some type of regulation, that I'd have to give it some thought, but some regulation that they're responsible for removing from the neighbor. The issue I have, I think, would be if your bamboo is growing into the neighbor's, you're responsible, you need to remove it, that means you now have to go into the neighbor's property.
Mm-hmm.
What's the neighbor's concern with that? I imagine there's different methods of removal. I mean, even to the point of putting in a small backhoe or something, that maybe the neighbor doesn't want that.
Right.
But I know, I talked to Councilman Smith, who said, perhaps then the issue is if you, as the neighbor, do not want to permit that, then the owner, so to speak, of the bamboo is now released from that liability. My thought perhaps would be to leave it to the property maintenance officer, I think would be appropriate, or perhaps Dr. Temple, I don't know, or a combination, that they, in a sense, become the final arbiter or referee and say, okay, it needs to be removed, we authorize removal in this method or that method, and if the neighbor still doesn't approve, then the neighbor just has to live with it, or they can remove it from their yard as they see fit. These are different thoughts and ideas that we could pursue.
I have a question as we get along. Could we ask to find out maybe, Dr. Temple, what is the success of actually containing bamboo? Like, as what, Mayor Nash referred to, can you contain it, or is it 98%, ineffective to contain it? If we're asking people to contain it, we have to make sure that's possible.
Well, I will get to answer that question, because Mr. Longo, who had it done correctly and had it dug 3 feet deep and had the steel enforcements in, he's had it over 10 years and he hasn't had any issues. Now, Dr. Temple's right, and she said this in the Environmental Commission meeting, that nothing is definite or guaranteed. Absolutely, because it is so invasive. But he hasn't had any issues, and he says he wouldn't want to remove it if he had to, because he does maintain it. So there is a process and a procedure. Anything could happen, absolutely, but I mean, if we do not start somewhere and we put nothing in place, we're going to constantly have the issues that we're having right now. And this is something that I think we should start to look at, and so we have an answer and being proactive instead of reactive, where originally the call was for a ban of it. And that, I think that is a harmful attempt. Here, if we try this and our residents adhere to it and we put guidelines in, I think we're off to a better start than where we are right now.
And also, somebody may have a large yard. They might have bamboo in the middle of their yard. It's not causing anybody any problems, so I don't see any issue with that at all. We're talking about bamboo but that's encroaching on somebody else's property, at least that's the way I see it. If somebody wants to plant a flower pot with bamboo, or they have a little flower garden and they plant that bamboo, it's certainly away from everyone else. I don't see why there should be any issue at all.
Grows quick.
Well, see, what you're
Right.
saying, Councilman Warlock, I understand, but over the years, because of the invasiveness of bamboo, it may not happen for 4 or 5 years. It may take 7 to 8 before it goes sideways through all the way to the other side of someone's property. So by putting a process there, and then they have to have it installed properly and it's inspected, we know that they're digging it at the right depth. They're putting the barriers in, and it's gonna help prevent the growth or the spread of into somebody else's, including your own. Because we do have reports that it has protruded through somebody's pool. It is coming back up in there. Like I said, it's a spear type thing. If you have young kids that are running in their yards with bare feet, they could be poked by it and stuff to that nature. Ironically, as strong as bamboo is, it is also as weak because it does splinter. And when it splinters and it gets stuck into your skin, it can cause some very serious infections. So it's just something, like I said, we're not here to make a decision tonight. We still have some homework to do, but I think it's now time we start to actually act on it, because this resolution was asked about a couple of years ago, if I can recall, and it was that they were talking about banning it, and it was dropped. So now that we're having some residents start to contact us and complain, our job as duly elected officials is to act on behalf of the residents fairly throughout, and I just think this is where we start.
And I agree with you, Councilman Smith, as long as it's bothering people. But if someone's planting it in their yard and it's not bothering anybody, I don't think we have the right to tell people what they can or can't plant in their yard. If they're doing it
think-
properly and it's not growing
Councilman
anywhere,
Moloch, I didn't
why
say they
should we
couldn't
make
plant
that
it.
decision?
I
Why
didn't say
should
they
we?
couldn't plant it. I said that we should have it permitted so it's planted properly.
If we go back to the bamboo that's already planted and is intruding on other people's properties, does it then become, because of the spheres you're saying that come up, does it then become a public health and safety issue where we can control that? Because I know that there is a resident that had a ton of poison oak in their backyard growing well over people's fences. And the health department did come out and had them cut it down. So I'm wondering if that
So why-
is, kind of falls into the
Yeah.
same
Why
situation.
can't we take that approach? I agree with
Well,
you.
I think even if we can now, I don't think this is a bad idea to at least put some guidelines and
In
regulations
place,
around
yeah.
it. And again, if you make the permitting process very easy and not financially impactful, right?
No,
I mean,
I-
we don't
I
even
listen-
need to charge a fee for it, for all I care.
No, I'm not saying that there's,
yeah.
other than maybe the inspection, what's it gonna take for somebody to go out and put a ruler into the ground, making sure that the hole is dug properly and that they have the thing in there? So it's probably not even a big fee to do. I'm not asking for a fee where it's that type of setup. It's just that we wanna make sure that it's planted properly so that we don't have any issues.
Yeah.
We're protecting everyone,
I don't think there's
I think
any-
including
it's
the
something we
homeowner
should
who's
think
planting it.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any harm in that. I mean, I've gone to Home Depot and bought things and later regretted it, and that wasn't even bamboo. You know,
I
so-
just want to make a quick comment. I think that, Councilman Smith is taking us in the right direction
Yes.
and making sure that we have some kind of resolve. But the only concern I have is, if you look at all the bamboo that has been invasive now, was at one time maintained by a property owner and contained? So, yes, Mr. Longo is containing it, let's say, and he's doing the right thing, but then if he sells his house and the new owner comes in and doesn't maintain it, that's what I think is causing a lot now, because
But it's like,
I know
it's
many
like
people
maintaining
have
anything.
planted back
My
in the
thoughts are,
80s.
it's like maintaining anything. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
20 or 30 years. So I think we need to make sure that, we do tackle it, and, okay, yes, you can plant it in your yard, but at the same time, if it's not maintained after ownership, then what? And then the only concern I have, or not concern, but the only thing that I would recommend looking into is who's gonna do the permitting process? We have to figure it out, and are they gonna want to sign off on that? Because it's kind of like fences. We don't have a permit process for fences because we don't want to have the legal responsibility of saying, well, this is on the line or it's not on the line because it's, surveys could be off. And so we don't get into that legal issue between neighbors, it's between them with the fences. The only thing we do is have guidelines. So I'm just worried that, when we do sit down with Dr. Temple, make sure we iron out all those concerns, because if I'm doing the inspection and I okay it, and then it does go into the neighbor's yard, is the town now liable because they approved it?
Yeah, I think,
No, not likely at all.
Yeah, Paul says not likely, so. But those are good
Okay.
points. I think those are all valid points, and I would, Councilman Smith, I would just say your committee should look into that and look at those things and bring us a draft of, then we can at least comment on a working model.
Okay.
Mayor, if I-
And I give Pete a lot of credit for working on this so quickly, because, the issue came up, a couple weeks ago, and he's moving the ball, so I want to thank him for doing it.
You're welcome. I still have more, Mayor, if I may.
Sure, go on.
In South Plainfield, we have a tree fund, where when an applicant comes before us to develop a piece of land, if they do not replace the tree for tree allotment, there's a fee they pay. And that money goes into what is called a tree fund. With everything that's been going on, and the Green Team is looking to try to where we have more trees planted throughout the town. So I had talked to Dr. Temple and asked her what she thought about possibly using or developing a grant for our small business owners in town to apply for a grant where we, the town, out of the tree fund, would pay for the trees, but the landlord or the owner of the property would be responsible for the tree, the care of the tree, and that we have deeded that has to be there for so long. So even if they sell the property, the new buyer and owner would still have to maintain that tree and everything for a certain time. We don't have a time frame of how many years that would be, but there is some money in this tree fund, and I know that it would probably help beautify our town, our borough, if we were able to do this. And this is something that we're going to discuss more into detail, but they had asked what we thought about it. So that, because there has been a lot of tree removal in our borough lately, and a lot of the developers are paying the fee instead of putting all the trees back.
Makes
I have a
So-
question.
Sure.
Makes sense.
So the tree would be on the property owner's property, on their property? Because
Yes.
then they would automatically be responsible for it regardless. Because I wouldn't, as a Realtor, putting deed restrictions on to do things like that, it's not really an ideal thing to do. Not that it's a huge deal, it's a tree, right? But to put a deed restriction on there, I think is a little bit,
Well, how can we make them, and that's her point is.
well, if
that
it's on their property, it's their
But if
tree.
we're paying for it, and it's not a residential, it's a business, we're not talking about the homeowners, we're talking about small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a difference between that, because see, right now, if a developer wants, and goes in and builds 10 family homes, he's responsible for a tree plan.
Right.
But once it becomes the residents can cut all the trees down, there's nothing that we can do about it. But we can do that, according to what I've read and seen so far, when it comes to businesses. And since it's going to be a grant from the borough to
Yeah.
do that, I think that's the only way that we can make sure that they have that there, so that that tree is there, because it's to beautify the town.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the word deed restriction is not correct.
Mm-hmm.
What I think he's saying is that there should be some kind of a developer's agreement or something or a grant agreement between the town and the property, not a deed restriction. on the
That would have
outside.
to transfer
makes
to the
more
new
sense.
owner,
Okay,
yeah, that's better.
And that's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm open, like I said, these are all, it's
Just like a
some-
solar transfer, you have to transfer it to the
Right,
next owner.
right, and
There we go.
solar's next, that's on my topic.
Okay,
so
yes.
Thank you so much for that leeway. Any
Little
questions so
segue.
far on
No.
the trees?
No.
Sorry to keep you all here long.
Move
tonight.
on to solar.
We talked about it recently, about South Plainfield being a solar-friendly town, and Sustainable New Jersey is a program that we are partaking in. And we are looking into that. I met with the mayor, Dr. Temple, and Mr. Longo to go over these things. We're now going to be meeting with Dom about zoning and the permit, to try to streamline the permit process. There's only 2 towns, which shocks me, in the state of New Jersey that qualify under Sustainable New Jersey that have a solar plan intact. and one of them happens to be very close to us in Woodbridge. So we took that program and we're looking at that. We proposed that, we showed it to the mayor. We want to look into that so that this could be done in a process, and it's something that hopefully within the next few meetings that we could get a resolution before us so that we can have this done, so that when somebody wants to apply for that. With that being said, one of the requirements from the Sustainable New Jersey is that our first responders are trained in solar. And we talked to the fire chief, and they do get trained on that. Some of them aren't they're more worried about the cars, believe it or not, being solar power than they are housing. I guess there's a big difference in energy that goes through a car than it goes through a house. I don't know, but we're learning. But I just think that's three things that the Green Team and the Environmental Commission are trying to work on to beautify our town, make it a greener town and a safer town for our residents. And with that, Mayor, progress.
Well done, Councilman.
Thank you,
Council
Councilman.
President Faustini.
Okay, well, I have a few things too.
Sure.
First, I do want to say thank you to Councilman Smith for really hitting the ground running with all these environmental ideas. I appreciate your hard work and all the progress you've made in a very short time, so thank you. I also want to say thank you to, it's really echoing the comments of Councilman Benjavanga and Councilwoman Mott, and probably everybody here, just to say thank you to Mr. Cullen especially, and to DPW, our recreation staff, all of them, and the pool staff for making our community pool opening, really very successful, and also for managing a way to keep it open throughout the month of September. So I just want to put out another thank you with that. In addition, the second movie night through Recreation in partnership with the school will take place on September 26th, Saturday night at dark at Joe's Field. We are probably setting up a poll this week to decide what movie it's going to be, so keep a look out for that if you'd like to participate. And the sign-up is a free event, of course, but you will have to sign up on Community Pass. And also, Public Celebrations is going to be sponsoring through the town a trunk or treat event on Halloween. We're still working out the details. We are going to probably have it in Veterans Park, but again, we're ironing everything out. It's not going to be just kind of come whenever. We're going to try and organize this as well through the Community Pass system, so that the crowds will be manageable and there won't be too many kids walking around at one time. Probably similar to movie night, where you, again, free, but you kind of get a ticket, so to speak, to come to the event in a group of, say, 6, and you walk around the event for an allotted time, and then you go. So this way, still in the time of COVID and being extra careful about social distancing, we're figuring out a safe way for the kids to be able to put on costumes and walk around while spaced out in their own groups. And, we don't know, I guess, exactly what's going to come down, if anything has yet, regarding Halloween, but we just wanted to make sure that, the kids would have something in the safest way we could possibly imagine. They'll know where their candy's from. They'll know it'll be handed to them, so no, hands in the bowl and that kind of thing. So the committee's working on that, and there will be more details to follow. And again, that is planned for actual Halloween. And with that, progress.
Excellent. At this point, I will turn it open to the public for any public comments, anything that's on your mind. Again, you can unmute yourself if you're on the phone only line by *6. If you're on the WebEx, hit the red mic, and then that'll unmute yourself. State your name. As soon as you are recognized, proceed with your address, and then proceed with your question. At this point, we'll open it up for public comments. Anything on your mind? Ms. Boyle.
Yes, Debbie Boyle, Mansley. I have a question. The provisional ballots are the same as the mail-in ballots, correct? They're not. Can you explain the difference?
Amy, you want to take that? The difference between provisional and mail-in ballots? I mean, ultimately, they have the same choices on them, right? But I'll turn that over to Amy.
I think they're different.
Yes.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, technically, provisional ballot and vote by mail ballot are one and the same. They are both a
Okay.
paper ballot. Mail-in signifies just that. It's a mailable ballot. When you go to the polls on election day, you will receive a similar, if not identical, ballot that is called a provisional ballot. It's really the same thing, just one gets mailed and the other one is done at the polling location.
Okay, I thought they were counted different or
Yeah,
something.
can you hand in, I think I asked this question earlier, you can hand in your mail-in ballot on Election Day at the polling place as of now?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
So you don't
Bring
ha-
your mail-in ballot. There were you had four options to disseminate your mail-in ballot. You can either drop it off at the county clerk's office in New Brunswick directly. You can put it through the U.S. Postal System mail. You can place it in what will be our dedicated drop box in the back of our municipal building. Or you can bring it to the your bona fide polling location and put it in ballot box there.
So,
And just to add on to that, when you're doing the mail-in ballot or the provisional at the location, it's the same, like the clerk said, it's the same thing. You're gonna have to put them into your certified folders and seal them. They'll be sealed and then go into the box. So when you bring your mail-in ballot to the polling place, if you do that, it has to be sealed and dropped off because the actual ballot is a generic ballot. There's no sequence. You can make 1,000 copies. It was just, I won't even get into that. But
No.
it's the same ballot and it goes into an envelope and gets sealed, whether it's provisional or mail.
so I think the point here is that if you're looking to vote in person, right, I wouldn't throw away your mail-in ballot. You're better off just,
As always.
right, you're better off just bringing that ballot and to your polling location and depositing it. Since anything you do, there's really no point in getting a provisional ballot unless for whatever reason you lost your ballot, never got your ballot in the mail. I think that's the instance where I would recommend any resident to use the actual provisional.
But just make sure that it's sealed because if you just bring
Yes.
the actual ballot
Correct.
and not the certification and drop it off,
Yes.
the ballot won't count.
It's a good-
In that envelope that he's certified.
That's a good point. It should be like you're gonna stick it in your mailbox, but what you do with that afterwards, like the clerk said, bring it in person, drop it off at the,
Will the
you.
box be here the day of the election? No, right? The box in the back?
Will
Yeah.
be here the day of
Just
election.
count. Okay.
That is also an option.
Okay.
Okay, so every registered voter gets a mail-in ballot, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
You don't have to ask for one, you automatically
No.
get it.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Address changes, though, if people haven't changed their address. That's
Well-
something everybody should remember. If you haven't changed your address, change it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll leave that up to the clerk if there's any other advice you would want to, we can put out on social media, but what I would recommend, if you recently moved, you probably want to make sure that you are registered to vote at the location that you're at. I think you can go on the state's website and Division of Elections and put in your name and whatever social security number, check and make sure that you are registered and they got you in the right spot. So, what is there, 50, you guys should know, 55 days, 52 days, something like that till Election Day? I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
November
So
3rd.
you have time, again, to make sure that,
I think they gave the date when the mail-in ballots will
Yeah.
go out.
Yep.
And then you
Right.
have like a couple of weeks, I think.
correct.
Okay.
So, and I know, Amy has been doing a lot of upfront work with calls and things of that nature, and also she's putting together a frequently asked questions document. So there's gonna be a lot of information that will probably answer a lot of the questions and put people's minds at ease as they go through the process. She's been working very diligent with that.
Thank you, because there are a lot of questions.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Also, no sample ballots.
No sample ballots, that's correct.
That is correct. There will not be any sample ballots for this election. I am told that the county will be sending out postcards to all registered voters, reminding them to vote on Election Day and where their voting location is.
Excellent.
Amy, real quick, if you have if you're a newly registered voter and you do it the last day of registration, which is, 20 days, or 30 days prior to the election, 21 days prior to the election, I don't know if you'll be on the list for a mail-in ballot, because it's after the October 6th deadline for the mail-in ballots to be sent out.
Correct. I'm not really sure how the county is going to handle that. They have not yet addressed that with us yet. I do
Okay.
have weekly, I do have weekly conference calls now with the County Board of Elections. My next one is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. So as these conference calls take place, I learn more and more.
But I think
Very fluid right
yeah,
now.
but I think the key is to, if you're newly registered or whatever it might be, check to see that you are in the system, right? You can do that. The state has websites to do that. And then ultimately, if for whatever reason you don't get a ballot, whether it is because you moved and it maybe went to a different area, your last resort is always that provisional ballot, right? There's not much more you can do other than that. You got plenty of time at this point. If you're registered, make sure that, you're getting something in the right spot. Use those state websites to do that. If you're just registering between now and 21 days before, then make sure you take advantage of the state's website just to make sure that they do have you registered. And then if for whatever reason you're not seeing something, then use that provisional method.
And there are, in fact, going to be machines at the locations for the disabled people with disabilities?
Yeah.
Yes, there will be a machine at each location, but strictly for ADA accessibility only.
Is that provisional?
No, that's a live machine.
No, that would be a machine. The ADA voter would need to fill out a certification form prior to using it, certifying their disability, and then they will proceed to vote on the machine.
So my question for that is, and maybe you can bring up this up, is it the ADA registered with the state, people who are registered with the state ADA, and they won't be getting mail-in ballots because
Or else
how
it's,
do you know that the machine?
They will receive a vote by mail ballot. If they are a registered voter, they will receive a vote by mail ballot.
But then how do you know what is voted in the machine is tied to them?
It's just like somebody else. It would be just like you or I receiving a vote by mail ballot in the mail, and for whatever reason we don't mail it in, we lose it, throw it out, whatever. You still can go to your polling location on election day and
If you
receive a
do- you-
provisional ballot.
If you do provisional, but this is going to be an actual machine.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, if they vote in the machine, it doesn't line the name up with the vote.
They have to sign the book, they have to sign the election book. It's not a double, are you questioning a double vote?
Well, what I'm saying is, if I sent in if I have a disability and I put my mail-in ballot at the drop box on the day of election, and then I go to the poll and I certify that I'm ADA and I vote in the machine, the vote in the machine is not tied to me.
Right, the county told me, this goes back to the primary elections, because somebody else had inquired about that same scenario. They said that they will track it, they will flag it on their end. It is flagged, and that vote will not count.
But how do you know what vote that is what I'm saying?
Well, it's either they're gonna take I think that they're not gonna take the machine vote, they're gonna take the paper vote.
Okay.
I believe that's what they said to me back during the primary election days.
But okay, I understand that in primary, but in a general election, when you print out the receipts in the machine, it says each candidate gets voted. It doesn't tell you who voted for that candidate in the machine.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why they're not gonna count the machine, they're gonna count the paper ballot.
Which vote do they take from, if there's 100 votes in the machine, which vote do they take from?
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's a question for the county.
I have a feeling there's gonna be a lot of lawsuits after this election.
Sorry, guys.
all right.
Just the
That was one long
yes.
question by Mrs. Boyle. All right. Thank you, Debbie. If you don't mind, we're going to take the next resident question. Hopefully there is one. Anyone else? Mind you can unmute yourself, *6 if you're on the phone only, or use the red microphone. Councilman McConville, you're waving at me. Does that mean you have a question? I think not. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. If for some reason you did not get your question in tonight, feel free to reach out to myself or the clerk or any one of the governing body members. At this point, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So move.
Motion by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilman Benjavanga. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Have a good evening, everyone.